Welcome to Becoming a Faculty Whisperer. If you have not asked ChatGPT to turn you into a superhero, you should definitely do that. Give it a photo of yourself, give it a couple things about you, and ask you to make you a superhero based on your teaching or whatever you're doing. It's a lot of fun. I'm Janae Burkart. I'm the Associate Director for the Office of Teaching, Learning, and Technology at the University of West Florida. Um, Today, I want to talk to you about what a faculty whisperer is and how to become one. So, a faculty whisperer is someone who understands faculty values and the constraints that go along with being a faculty member. They communicate and collaborate in ways that build trust, they reduce friction, and they inspire buy-in. That's super simple, right? How our department became faculty whisperers. So before COVID, everything's green. We had a very small faculty support team. We supported online faculty for the majority of what we did. Only 15% of our courses were online fully. And we had traditional faculty. We had some faculty who had never taught online and did not want to teach online. We also had a handful of tools that we supported, including a recent move to Canvas. And our model for support was basically walk-in. Faculty could make appointments, they could walk in and see us, and we would help them. But we were viewed as a support desk. And it was, hey, I have a problem, fix it for me, and thank you, I'll come back when I have another problem. We also had faculty who told us, I will retire before I teach online. So COVID hit, and it hit us during the spring break of 2020. So I believe it was like a Tuesday, the university closed. So our students had gone home and they were not coming back. As I mentioned before, we had 15% of our courses were online. So we helped faculty convert 1,500 face-to-face courses to online in about a 2-week span, a little bit less than that. We did that by purchasing tools. We rapidly developed resources. We opened a faculty support Zoom room, which has probably had the most benefit for us and for faculty. They could stop into our Zoom room Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 and get on-demand support. We also, in time, added faculty liaisons, and we utilized faculty champions. So we created courses, we created templates, we created short videos and bite-sized instructions so that faculty could rapidly get introduced to a lot of the tools that we use to improve their online experiences. The Zoom room specifically, but also the fact that we were assisting faculty with their needs, increased our touch points with faculty exponentially. It also helped form relationships that were not there before. And all of this resulted in high levels of collaboration because we were a small team and we wanted to use faculty to help us reach the goals. And it also just massive amounts of trust that we are still holding on to today. This also led us to become faculty whisperers. So what is a whisperer? I'm sure you have horse whisperers. There's a cat whisperer. I've heard a lot of technology whisperers lately, but a whisperer is basically someone who listens, they understand, they connect, and they reward. This cycle builds trust and buy-in. And in this instance, we're talking about faculty because, we could have horse whisperers. But in this instance, we also want to create more whisperers because the more whisperers you have, the better communication flow, the more trust, the more adoption. It's just better for everyone. And it's a symbiotic relationship. So whisperer strategies, first is listen. And it seems easy, but there's a lot to it when you start listening and what to listen for. Listening can be formal or informal. So I often have coffee with faculty in small groups or one-on-one when I know there's an issue. But it could be formal as a listening session with notes and with questions that are pre-prepared. You can sit in on department meetings and listen. You can observe. I think observing is a special tool to have because if you just sit and listen and observe during meetings, you can see how people react and you might pick up on nuances and cues, body language, nonverbal communications that might help you connect with that faculty member. I use small surveys. So when I teach, I use this 3-question survey. It's Qualtrics, it's usually anonymous, but I ask what's working or what's helping their learning and what's not, and then how can it improve? This is a great process. It's really fast. It provides a ton of data, but I go back and I look at it and I say, okay, I can fix this or I can't. If I fix it, I let them know it's fixed and thank you. If I can't, I tell them why. And so at least they know I'm listening and I'm connecting with them. And my goal is to help them. I would love to see this more with faculty after they finish a course, maybe just a short reflection of what worked, what didn't, how can it improve? And then bring those to us and have them have us help them through meeting the goals or meeting the pain points they had. And then also listen to your data. The biggest thing we got out of the Zoom room, other than the relationship building and the trust, was it created support tickets that we could go back and look at for data and information. We looked through themes. And so we were able to look at the themes that were coming from the tickets and then create resources. Or if we already had the resources, we made sure we put them somewhere that faculty could see them. We also began looking at tool utilization and training utilization. So who is getting training? Who is using what tools? That created lines of communication for us. So if we knew there was a problem, we could say, okay, we have this tool, we have this resource. Now let me send it to the people who asked about it or who have experienced an issue with it. We could also target maybe the skeptics and say, okay, we noticed you're not doing this or you're not using this tool. Is there something we can do? Or, hey, here's something we developed. We want you to test it for us. The next thing is to understand. And understanding is really about understanding their values, the goals, their pain points, and understanding faculty profiles. You can use these things in communication. So you can target to say, okay, I know this is your pain point. I know this is something that you value. Let's put the two together and make it work. And that can be, we're going to talk about that in a second in a connection, but that could be assisting with research, assisting with their documentation for their annual evaluations. When it comes to faculty profiles, they can be a mix of all of these, right? They can be a new faculty, they can be an adjunct, they could be tenured, they could be innovators or skeptics, they could have high-tech or low-tech skills, and then you throw in that they're all in different disciplines, right? And that can create its own profile, dealing with an English department or English faculty versus dealing with physics department, physics faculty. They could have different goals. They could have different ways that they teach. So it's important to understand the profiles, not that you get down in the weeds with it, though. You don't want to go so far that you're worried, you didn't get something right. You just want to make sure you know the overall picture of what faculty value and who they are. Faculty value, though, for the most part, time, promotion and tenure, student success, research, recognition, evaluations, and stipends. Now, new faculty, they really want to know what to do. They want to know if their courses are going to work. They want to know how to make successful students. They want to know how to get on track for promotion and tenure. So if you are integrating something or rolling out something that has to do with a technology tool that's used for teaching and learning, and a new faculty member needs to figure out what to do for research or service, align with them and work with them. AI is a huge area for research. So it's really about understanding what the faculty goals are and then what their values are and then how you can mesh with those. Number 3 is connect. So you want to connect both ways. You want the faculty members to share their goals and pain points, but I think it's really important to share yours as well. So like I mentioned with the surveys, you ask the 3 questions, but if you can't do it, tell them why and let them in on the process of, well, it's not accessible or it doesn't meet our security standards, instead of just saying no. And so that way you're saying, we can't do this right now, but this could be something we can do in the future if these things align. Translating is a huge skill to have. The first time I got called a faculty whisperer, I was actually working for information technology services at UWF, but my job was literally to go back and forth between faculty and ITS and translate the goals and values and translate the things that we were doing and why and how it was going to help faculty. Collaborate. One huge thing that came out of the Zoom room was collaboration. We have a small staff, so we asked faculty to help us create. We help us give workshops, to give us feedback on all the new tools that we were pushing out. Co-teaching is also a great thing to have. You go in and let's say we're rolling out Poll Everywhere in the fall. And so if a faculty member wants to use it, you could align and be a co-instructor in a course possibly and help them with that tool, help them support students with that tool, but also gain feedback. You're sitting there listening to how the tool is being used, what are the pain points. It offers a ton of information that you can then take back and help the faculty in solving those issues. Co-facilitating workshops is amazing too, because either you're presenting 50-50 or maybe you have faculty either there while you're presenting and you pull them in to say, tell us how you use this tool. What were your best practices? What were your pain points? And how did we fix those? Faculty listen to faculty. So bring the faculty in and have them co-present with you. You could also, we heavily rely on faculty to pilot. So if we're thinking about tools, we might purchase a pilot license for those tools, integrate them into a Canvas test environment, and then put faculty in roles as either faculty or students and let them test it. I am all for having people break things before we buy them. So encouraging them to use it in the way they would and to try to find places or areas that they can't use it so that we can then kind of meet those speed bumps before we hit them on a full rollout. They really help us prepare the resources ahead of time as well. Mentoring each other. The faculty member that told me she would retire before she taught online was the first person to get support when COVID hit. So she walked in and said, okay, teach me. And during the process though, she mentored me, and this is a faculty member with 30 years of teaching experience. She made me a better teacher, and my expertise was in technology. So I helped her take what really worked well in the classroom and convert it to online. And really that was her issue with teaching online, was this fear of, I'm not going to be able to do the things I do in the classroom online. And once we got past some of those, it became a really great relationship. We've had faculty that say, I want to do this online, but I have no idea how to. And we actually created a course it was a forensic psychology, and we're able to create online the defense, we had the different lawyers in different categories. We had the judge, we had the jury, and they all did this virtually and went through several big high stakes cases. So it's really interesting. But I would never have thought of that on my own. So it's a dual relationship. And then help them publish and present. A lot of our faculty, some of the things we do, we give stipends, but we also may send them to a conference to present with us. And a lot of the faculty we have sent, they keep going to those conferences like Instructional or the AI conference that's coming up in Florida. They buy in, they get involved, and they really want to keep going in that process. So the publish and present also ties back to their goals and values. So you're both winning. And every integration is an opportunity for research. I mentioned AI earlier, but if faculty are struggling to present or to publish, offer to work with them, and it may be just helping with data, but help them in that process to meet their goals. And include all faculty in this, in your connections. Some of the best advice I've gotten are from skeptics and from low tech, because I don't want to roll anything out if not everybody can use it. So a lot of times we'll build something, we pull in our skeptics, we pull in our low tech faculty and have them work through it. And they help me adjust and make it usable for everybody. So number 4, recognize and reward. I saw this question as a pre-question, like how do you recognize and reward? But you can document whatever they're helping with on annual evaluations. Document it, give it to them, have them use it. Research and service is a reward for them because it's something they need to accomplish. Stipends are faculty liaisons. We have one in each college. They get stipends. Course releases. If they're teaching 5 classes, maybe they teach 4, but they use that time from the 5th class to help with something. Emails and newsletters, huge, highlight them, give them a shout out in meetings. This is one of my favorite techniques, actually. And I do this across the board, whether it's I'm working with ITS or maybe career services, anybody. If I'm in a meeting and that person's in a meeting and I'm talking about what I'm doing, I will give a shout out and say, I want to just recognize what so-and-so did and how they helped this process, because it would not have been possible without them. And that just increases your bond with those faculty or those staff that you're working with. You can also nominate for awards. One of the things we do too, we require a certain training before a faculty member can be apply for a reward. So that kind of ties in like, hey, we want you to do this if you want this reward. If you want online teaching award or something like that, make sure you go through this process first. And that can be QM, it can be all kinds of things. But keep in mind your faculty profiles during this process and go back to what their values are: time, finance, tenure, promotion, and student impact. Create whisperers. So this is the 5th step. What we're doing is we're creating faculty champions. We're creating liaisons within the colleges. We're creating an environment where we have feedback loops. We increase communication by this. So I can send a message or send a communication to the faculty liaison in the college. That liaison then transitions to either the full college or their department, and then we get feedback. They also help us distribute resources and support. We have one particular faculty liaison in our College of Health, and she stopped so much of the tickets before they get to me because she works with the faculty member. She's also one we've taken to InstructionCon and presented with. She also is someone I think who could be an instructional designer. She's done that so much with us that she could actually take on some kind of role like that. And it also helps with buy-in and adoption because, as I mentioned, faculty listen to each other. So right now, we're not doing the Zoom room anymore. That's been gone for about a year and a half. We've streamlined our support tickets. So faculty click on a link and they get asked in a Qualtrics survey, is this for Canvas support? If so, they click and it takes them to 24/7 support for Canvas. If it's a third-party tool, it links to a page with all of those resources for support that they can get help one-on-one with that. And it's really a gift to them because those resource links are 24/7 typically. So they're going to have to wait on us to get back to them, where they can get help immediately on the weekends if they need to. We have a faculty advisory board. We co-create resources. I involve faculty from the starting to look at what tools to use to the demos for those tools, walking through the accessibility and security for our LTI integrations, and then I include them in creating resources and dissemination and support. So I include faculty at every tier. We also have office hour themes. So right now we're working through accessibility and also integration of simple syllabus. So we have open office hours, maybe 2 hours a couple times a week where faculty can drop in and get help. We have Poll Everywhere starting soon, so we'll add those. And we adopt tools with built-in security. So if I'm working with a vendor, one of the first questions I ask is, what's your support model look like? Is it 24/7? Can faculty and students get assistance? How does that work? And our faculty have helped us create a faculty resource guide in Canvas. And so it sits on their Canvas dashboard. They've helped create an AI toolkit. It's a Canvas course where they're all faculty, and they can go in and they can add example assignments, they can have discussions, whatever they want to do. And then we have test zones in Canvas Test where faculty can go in and pilot some of our new tools or tools that we're looking at, and they can either take a faculty or student role and give us feedback. What's next? We still have a small team, but 43% of our courses are online now. All of our courses use Canvas. We have 81 LTIs. Canvas-wide tool support, so Poll Everywhere is something everybody could use. So we will be supporting staff in this as well. I would like to start badging collaborative partnerships, badging the faculty liaison, so it's a simpler tool to use when they have their faculty evaluations. And we want to see more liaisons. Our department works so well with them, and they are so beneficial. And one of our goals is to add teaching assistants to this. So I'd like to provide additional training for teaching assistants so they can help the liaisons, but also help faculty and be our kind of first line of support, our first tier when it comes to Canvas. So in review, whisperer mentality is listening, understanding, connecting, and rewarding. Again, works with horses. You got to get a horse to trust you, 1,500-pound animal. You've got to go through some steps in order to get them to trust you. It works with students too. I've taught a class full of students, adolescents with felonies who didn't want to be taught. And so these steps go a long way to build trust so that you both get what you want out of the process. And then it also helps in silos. If you're having a difficult relationship with another department or a non-existent relationship with another department, use these tools because they build trust and they support buy-in. Each opportunity, there's an opportunity to build trust. And every time you go through this cycle, you'll add on more faculty whisperers, you'll build more trust. On the flip side, you can also mess up trust. So it's really important to do those listening, understandings, and rewards so that you stay on track with the goals and values of the faculty as well as your own. Thank you. Janae Burkart, jburkart at uwf.edu, and I'm going to hand it over to Leslie and Ebony, and we'll answer questions at the end.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. I'm so excited that y'all are here and that there are so many of you here. I am Leslie Camphouse, and I'm an instructional designer at Seminole State College. I'm going to let Ebony say hi real quick before we get started.
And hello, my name is Ebony Collier. I'm also an instructional designer at Seminole State College.
Yes, and our team is kind of obsessed with online learning. That's kind of our whole deal. So we're very glad to be here talking about this with you today. So I want to start out with a question, and I'm not going to ask you to self-disclose, but just think about it for a second. So if you're a faculty member, think about if you've ever taken any kind of training that related to online teaching and you were really excited about it, but you didn't finish it. Has that ever happened to you? And if you're an instructional designer or if you're somebody in like an administrative role, and think about when you have trainings related to online teaching, about how many faculty start them versus about how many faculty finish them. And I wanted to keep that question top of mind because as our team is super passionate about supporting faculty, something that we talk about really, really often is learning how to create resources that our faculty are truly going to value and that fit into their workflow and that they can use. So I will preface this by saying this presentation is not so much about the content of trainings about online teaching, but rather how we set up options for faculty to engage with them. There are a ton of fantastic resources out there already about how to set up an effective training in terms of content. So this, we want to talk about what our experience looked like on our team with helping our faculty engage with our training courses in ways that are meaningful to them. So I want to start out with a poll. I want to start out with this poll just to get an idea of what training looks like in your institution. So how is training in online teaching incentivized where you are? So is it required? Do faculty get paid? Do faculty get professional development, or it's not incentivized at all? So just choose if multiple of these are true, then just choose the one that is maybe the most common. So We have a pretty good variety then of responses here. I know some institutions require their faculty to complete their training. Other institutions, they get professional development. Other institutions, especially depending on what resources you have, you might not have like specific tangible incentives. And the reason that I wanted to start out with that question specifically was just that at our institution, most of our training in online teaching is not explicitly required of faculty. And I know that's not necessarily the case with everybody, but the fact that most of it's not required means that we have to really know what our faculty need and what their workload looks like so that we can make sure that the training we're offering is valuable for them. So the biggest challenge I think that we have to overcome when we're designing training is honestly just like faculty time. Our faculty are juggling a lot of responsibilities. If you are or have been a faculty member, you know what that's like. And sometimes there's just so many hours in a day. And if you have to drop something, the optional thing is just the thing that gets dropped. And also, you know, people have different learning preferences. So we've had some faculty tell us that they want deadlines, give me accountability so that I will actually do it, and others who would rather just do things at their own pace. So think about yourself and your own approach to training. Like, are you somebody who's like, give me deadlines and structure or I'll never do it? Or are you somebody who's more like, just let me do it at my own pace and please don't breathe down my neck? So I am fully in that first category, but let's do this. If you are a give me deadlines person, click that little react button and just send like a heart emoji. And if you're a let me do it at my own pace and leave me alone person, throw a thumbs up emoji. I'm just very curious as to what the spread looks like here. So my point here is that we do really try to be intentional with how we incentivize the training that we offer and think about what's going to motivate faculty and what we have the resources for. Just like, of course, if we could, we would love to give everybody $50,000 for completing all of our training courses, but that's just not the world that we live in. So these challenges then have given us the opportunity to come up with some flexible engagement options where faculty can choose their incentive. This starts with just the trainings that we offer for online teaching. So this is our menu of basically our online teaching options. And we start with Canvas Basics, which this is the only one that's institutionally required. And then after that, we have a track for if you only teach templated courses, which is the case with a lot of our adjunct faculty. And then another track for if you design your own online courses. And we'll talk about some of these more specifically in a little bit. But for now, I just want to zoom in on how we deliver flexible options within a couple of different training courses. So first of all, we have our AI toolkit for faculty training. So this is meant to give an introduction to AI and some advice about how to incorporate it in your classes. And initially, we had planned for this to just be a resource course that faculty could self-enroll in, use it as needed, but we saw some opportunities to incorporate some structure and some collaboration. So we ended up designing each module with discussions at the end, with the idea that if faculty want to, they can just access the course as a resource, just as needed. And if they complete the course in sequence and do all of those discussions at their own pace, they get professional development credit for that. And then we leveled it up further because we got approached by one of our awesome faculty members. Her name's Kate Kellen. She teaches English. And if I could fangirl about her for the entire day, I would. But she had this great idea to recruit faculty to go through the AI toolkit as a cohort. So that way they have some collaboration, they have support from one another, and they have a timeline and deadlines. And we had not considered this approach with this particular training before, but we set up the supports, we made it happen. Kate led the cohort, and it ended up being really successful. So this is one of our courses where faculty can use it at varying levels of commitment, just depending on what works for them. So our next example is our quality online course design training, which it's like our homegrown version of QM kind of. And historically, this class used to be set up in cohorts. And then after that, we had a completely self-paced version. And what we found with both of those models is a lot of people that weren't completing the training. So we redesigned it last year with a lot of feedback from faculty. We talked about how to create the structure that would help people complete the training so that they would get value out of it regardless of where they were at schedule wise. And what we ended up with was two options. So if somebody wants to submit their course for high quality designation, they have to do the full training. It's relatively intense. It is self-paced, but they have 6 months from the time they enroll, and we give them a suggested schedule. They get feedback every step of the way to keep them on track. And when they sign up for the training, they get to choose their incentive. So they can pick either professional development credit or they can pick a stipend. Most people tend to pick the stipend. And then some people just want to access the information as they need it without the pressure of a formal training. Maybe they don't want to submit their course for high quality, but they want to know how to teach their course well. So we have basically a duplicate version of our quality online course design training that is the same thing, but without any assessments, that is view only. So this way faculty can still benefit from the training, but at a level that works for their schedules and for their needs. And we also have developed a couple of other training courses that create sort of a middle ground between view only access as needed and the intensity of quality online course design. So I will let Ebony pick that up and talk about those.
Okay, so our other training courses, which is a part of our scaffolded series of trainings, we have online teaching strategies, which we call for short OTS, and then we have our designing and delivering effective online courses, such a long name, but which we call for short DND. Both training models are a guided self-paced approach with deadlines, but faculty still have the flexibility to work at their own pace. So they both focus on best practices in online course design and are designed to gradually increase in complexity as part of that scaffolding series. And so online teaching strategies is designed for faculty who teach redesigned or template online courses. And then designing and delivering effective online courses, D&D, is intended for faculty who create their own online content and guide participants through the full process of creating, delivering, and maintaining their online courses. And as an incentive, participants may choose between either a stipend or the professional development credit. And so to understand the impact of our flexible training model approaches, let's take a look at what's working so far. So essentially, what we're seeing is that when faculty have a choice on how deeply they engage in overall participation, sorry, when faculty have a choice with how deeply they are able to engage with our courses or our trainings, the overall participation have increased. And so to date, we have 137 participants who are participating through this flexible design model. And as mentioned by Leslie, the AI Toolkit for Faculty, which has our highest enrollment of participants, which is 84. Notably, 79 of those participants are engaging through our view only, or what we call our peeper option of the course. And we see the similar pattern with our quality online course design. The people option of that course as well has 30 participants participating in that. So all in all, this just tells us that just in time, low barrier access is highly valued from our faculty. And it also shows that we also have some faculty who may not be ready or able to fully commit, but they are still engaging with it because they have the option to view it as a resource if needed. And then if they find more time, they could essentially come back and try to complete it either as a cohort or self-paced. And so combine the AI toolkit for faculty and our quality online course design. View-only engagements have reached a total of 109 participants. And for the AI toolkit for faculty specifically, the self-paced training option has seen little use, while the view-only and the cohort options are the clearly preferred options for our faculty. I would like to also spotlight that participation in the cohort option has is the leading runner for playing a key role in supporting faculty to complete the overall AI toolkit course and earn that professional development credit. And it also highlights the value of structured support when long-term commitment is involved. And so I would also note that encouragement with our guided self-paced training courses remains strong, with 19 participants completing those more structured experiences. And then now taken together within this snapshot that we see, we are seeing that by meeting faculty across multiple cases, we are creating those opportunities for them to build knowledge at their own pace, and they have the opportunity again to revisit concepts as needed. So if they do complete the training, that training is still open for them to view because they have the view only option and they can go back to it as needed. And based on our faculty feedback, what we've gathered or what we've taken away is that clear faculty engagement with professional learning in different ways. Some are looking for quick, just-in-time resources, whereas other participants value structure and deadlines, and some need the flexibility to move at their own pace. And for many, incentives can be an important motivator. What we're seeing work best within our flexible training course models is offering choice and visibility, while ensuring that training feels relevant and directly connected to faculty day-to-day work. And as we wrap up, I invite you to think about your own context and consider your faculty personas and where might adding just one additional option or pathway might make engagement and commitment easier for your faculty. And so I'll leave it open for any questions you may have for me and Leslie.